Hello, Boo family. This is a recording of the spoken worship elements from Sunday, March 15th, our very first ever Zoom worship service. Thank you all who were able to attend, and to those who were not, I'm so sorry, and I hope that this moment here will allow you to experience a little bit of what we experienced together. We will continue worshiping via Zoom on Sunday mornings with one service at 10 a.m. We have plenty of room for up to 500 participants and some additional administrators. So we're taking care of all of those little glitches that we all experience together on Sunday. I want to take a moment to express my gratitude first to our board of directors who acted swiftly, making some really hard decisions in a short period of time. So much changed in the last several days leading up to Sunday as we watched communities and churches across the country move everything online, postpone, and cancel. So we are doing the same thing here at the fellowship. All in-person gatherings and events have been postponed or moved entirely online. We're using this Zoom channel for all of our gatherings, so you can talk with your committee chairs and team leaders to see if your gathering has been shifted online, and we're all going to be really good at using Zoom together when this is all over. And we'll also be hosting periodic check-ins and small group opportunities throughout the coming days and weeks. Beginning this Thursday, March 19th, from 4 to 5:30 p.m. on this Zoom meeting, all are welcome to join us for a community check-in, and stay tuned to email for details about more opportunities to meet in small groups as the days go on. This next Sunday, March 22nd, we'll have a time for all ages, an opportunity for those families who are Zooming in and our children to get in front of the camera and have a moment together. So we encourage you to tune in for that. I also want to take a moment to thank Carrie for making quick adjustments, for our staff for being on top of it and really rising to the challenge of putting this together so quickly. It has really been a wonderful exercise in what we can do as a team. So I'll invite us all to take a moment to breathe together, to remember that in our breathing together, we are still connected to one another through this great invisible thread of love, through this thread of a common tradition, and this thread of our shared humanity. Thou art the song of my heart in the morning. Thou art the dawn of truth in my soul. Thou art the dew of the roses adorning. Thou art the woven whole. Thine is the grace to be steadfast in danger. Thine is the peace that none can destroy. Thine is the face of the need-driven stranger. Thine are the wings of joy. Thou art the deep, to the deep in me calling. Thou art a lamp where my feet shall tread. Thy way is steep past the peril of falling. Thou art my daily bread. Thine be the praise of my spirit uplifted. Thou art the sea to each flowing stream. Thine be the days that are gathered and sifted. Thou art the deathless dream. Each week we light a flaming chalice, the symbol of our free faith, the beacon of hope, love, and justice. We need this light today as much as we always have, reminding us of that inner flame of wisdom, goodness, and commitment to one another. As we light our chalice Today, I offer you these words from Monica Jacobson Tennyson. We gather at the beginning of a time of distancing, knowing that we are called to do new things in service of the all, knowing that this courage is an expression of our love, knowing that we will learn together at a distance. We light this chalice as a reminder the flame is different every time, and in the times to come we will kindle separate flames. And yet, the flame is the same every time. And all our separate flames remind us of this community and our shared light. Come, let us worship together. Well, these are just about the strangest times that any of us have really ever experienced. Here I am preaching to myself. I mean, I do that often, but I don't usually do it watching a video of myself doing it. Here we are worshiping together in our own individual homes. I hope many of you have taken advantage of that to stay in your PJs and have your pets on your lap and get comfortable. I want to add gratitude in thanks for our Unitarian Universalist Association, our congregational life staff, our UUA president, Reverend Susan Frederick Gray, for all of their guidance and support and mobilization and sharing of resources in these past days. My colleagues and lay leaders across the country have come together to help one another figure out how to live into this new space, how to do worship online, to share with one another and support one another. And I hope we will continue to do that here for one another as a community. Because none of us really know how to do this. We're all figuring it out as we go. And that's part of the scariness of the moment and part of the adventure of it as well. Some friends of ours who live in Los Angeles just texted us a few days ago with pictures of empty grocery shelves in LA, letting us know that there was no canned food, no frozen food, no bread, no pasta. But there was still plenty of beer on the shelves. So our hydration needs are taken care of. It's absurd in many ways. I know for myself in these last several days, I have been laughing at the choices that we've had to make, at the conversations I'm having, just at the absurdity of it all, as it just feels so different. And it also feels surreal and a little bit scary and a lot anxious. And if you are feeling any of those things, you are not alone. We're all in this together. And all of those range of emotions are true for many of us. And so here we are finding one moment of respite to come together as a community and just to be with whatever is true for us in this moment. In these times of fear and uncertainty, as news is changing daily, as this topic of the coronavirus is all that permeates our conversations and our media, we can be pulled in to a lot of different ways of dealing with the moment and reacting to the moment. We can be pulled into fear, into that place that causes us to turn inward, to heighten our sense of individualism and protectionism, into that place that leads to empty grocery shelves. and lack of toilet paper, of all things. Into that place that forgets neighbors and friends and community members and those who might have deep needs greater than our own. We can be pulled into the place of data and facts, making ourselves experts and sharing that expertise with anyone and everyone who will listen. And in a way, still distancing ourselves from connection, from being open to hear where others are at in this moment, and just naming the uncertainty. And we can be pulled into denial, into putting ourselves at risk or putting others at risk unnecessarily. All of these things, an inward individual expression rather than one that chooses community. The challenge for us in these times, as we're being asked to socially distance ourselves, is to figure out how to stay connected, to figure out how to stay centered in our heart, open to one another, ready to forge connection in new ways. Because in these moments of fear and anxiety, many of us long for that. We're wanting to be with people. And so let's challenge ourselves to be creative about how we might do that for one another. It's ironic, really, that the insidiousness of this disease forces us to keep our distance from one another, from even this beloved community, as a way to keep one another safe. And so let's do this by not losing our connection to one another. In an email that Jem sent out to families last week, she reminded us that, as has ever been true in our faith, we are also challenged to remind ourselves to hold dear the most vulnerable among us. The immunocompromised, those without homes and living on the streets, those on the brink, those who suffer from mental health challenges, panic disorders, obsessive compulsive disorders, anxiety, our elderly and those who care for them, the sick and the incarcerated, those in the midst of deep grief and bereavement, people of color and the poor who we know will be hit harder than most. And of course, our doctors, nurses, and healthcare providers who are putting themselves on the front lines in order to help our community and to get us all through this moment. We hold all of those vulnerable populations deeply in our hearts and ask ourselves how we can support them. This is a time when some of us may be able to step in while others of us have to step back and isolate a little more and protect ourselves while still maintaining connection. If you are in need of any kind of support from this community, financial, emotional, spiritual, as these days and weeks unfold, please do not hesitate to reach out. We are prepared to help, and we're doing more and more preparation every day to support one another. I was reminded as I was listening to a podcast about Tom Hanks that there are other things that are contagious as well. Things like kindness, laughter, joy. And so I want to share with you some of the contagious things that I'm hanging on to and sharing with others as a way to spread the contagious kindness and joy with others. First, since I mentioned it to you last week, I've been singing our community recessional song every time I wash my hands. in the most interesting of places, singing it in the bathroom at the state capitol. That was fun. It brings a smile to my face in the moment as I utter what have become some of the most sacred words for me, reflective of our community. May our minds be open to new learning. May our lips bring truth into the world. May our hearts know love, and our hands do the work of justice. I invite you to join me in singing those beautiful words every time you wash your hands. Because while I'm creating joy in the moment, perhaps the most radical act of kindness we can offer one another in these times is to wash our hands with minds open to new learning, with hands to do the work of justice in new ways. And we can smile and laugh while we do it and commit those beautiful words to memory, spreading a little bit of joy to ourselves and our family members. Because what it's reminded me is that I want to have more singing in ordinary moments, and maybe in not so ordinary moments. Breaking out into song whenever I feel like it. Opening up my breath and my lungs and my heart and my mind to bring words into being, to conjure up the spaces that I want to see alive in our midst. Another contagious joy that I have been sharing recently, I just shared it with my staff, is video clips of Chunk the groundhog. Chunk is quite a celebrity these days. He has his own YouTube channel, his own Instagram handle. Chunk was a groundhog that invaded some guy's garden, and instead of getting upset about it, he decided to help Chunk out and set up a video camera and left out food for Chunk. And now Chunk eats his food in front of that video camera every day, and you can see some of the best highlight reels on YouTube and on Instagram. Just look up Chunk the groundhog if you want to have a moment of contagious joy, and then send it on to someone else and let that joy multiply. One of the questions that I was asked recently that I will ask of all of you is, what do we want to take from this moment and bring into the future? I know that I want to bring in more contagious joy and more singing. I'm also aware that this moment has really forced us to think about how we do community differently. And so here we are online, worshiping online in small groups online. And I hope that this will be the launch pad for us for a lot more virtual spaces, even when we're back together in person, so that we can connect with one another, whether we're able to come to the fellowship or not. It's an exciting opportunity, really, and we've been having some fun thinking about all the cool online stuff that we want to do. So do stay tuned for those details. We're planning some really exciting things, some games, some crafts, some check-ins, maybe even some singing, all online together. I want to offer you these words from Thich Nhat Hanh. He writes, "It's possible that the next Buddha will not take the form of an individual. The next Buddha may take the form of a community practicing understanding and loving kindness, a community practicing mindful living. May this be the most important thing we can do for the survival of the earth. May we invite ourselves into the being of that community, of a community that practices compassion, loving kindness, mindful living, and creative connection. May it be so. Amen." As I mentioned, many of my colleagues have been sharing their own writings for use in our worship services. And many of them are stunningly beautiful. So I share with you this poem by the Reverend Lynn Unger, in which she drew upon her own Jewish faith to write of the pandemic, inviting us to think of it in terms of an invitation. And as it happens, this poem has gone viral on the internet with thousands and thousands of shares and likes. It's called Pandemic. What if you thought of it as the Jews think of the Sabbath, the most sacred of time? Cease from travel, cease from buying and selling. Give up just for now on trying to make the world different than it is. Sing, pray, touch only those to whom you commit your life. Center down. And when your body has become still, reach out with your heart. Know that we are connected in ways that are terrifying and beautiful. You could hardly deny it now. Know that our lives are in one another's hands. Surely that has come clear. Do not reach out your hands. Reach out your heart. Reach out your words. Words of compassion that move invisibly where we cannot touch. Promise this world your love, for better or for worse, in sickness and in health, so long as we all shall live. Amen. And I'll sign off with this closing blessing, an adaptation of the Beatitudes by the Reverend Lee Pascula. Blessed are the elderly and the immunosuppressed. Blessed are the fearful, the anxious and irritable. Blessed are the ones who use humor to get by. The ones who could use a vacation anyway, the ones who fear for their life. Blessed are the ones who are sick of it, all the flawed logic, the security theater. Blessed are the ones who cry out, this is why we need a safety net, a kinder society, a new world. Blessed are the healthcare workers, the administrators catching heat for every decision, the messengers with no power over the message. Blessed are the sad and the lonely. Blessed are the healthy and the sick, the well and the unwell. Blessed are all of us just trying to do our best. Blessed are those who stay kind and clear, who keep our eyes open to each other. Blessed is our neighbor. Blessed are we all. Say it with me. Blessed are we all. Blessed are we all. Blessed are we all. Go in peace. Go in love. Reach out your heart. We'll see you on Zoom this Sunday at 10 a.m.